Chantal, welcome to the Hidden White podcast. Great to have you here today.
Amazing to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Fellow Aussie. Well, kind of an Aussie. Are you an
Kind of.
Aussie?
I am an Australian resident, yes, but originally from South Africa.
Uh-huh. Not far from me anyway.
Yeah.
So, looking forward to our conversation. We're going to talk with you to the audience about your journey into entrepreneurship. Really is where I want to delve this, but I know there's a story of you getting there, and I want to delve into that. So, can you walk us through what you're doing now in your life? And then we'll just open it up to some conversations around how you got there.
Sure, no worries. Well, I'm now the owner, and it's weird when I say it, but I'm the owner of two marketing agencies. So the one is a consulting business where I help business owners make marketing that's meaningful, profitable, and easy to manage.
Hmm.
And then I have my second business, which is a software company, which was built off of that one out of a need for people to have an all-in-one marketing platform. And that one's called OBM Hub.
Right.
But if you had said to me, like, what's your 10-year plan or what's your 20-year plan? Would you be like owning two marketing agencies or a software company? I would have gone, no way, wouldn't have been on that list.
So you're doing it. How long have you been doing it for?
So this has been about 15 years now that
Yep.
I've been doing the marketing agencies for. But prior to that, I owned health, wellness, and fitness centers for about 25 years.
Yeah, so you got a lot of business experience regardless.
Yeah, yep. I think when I left school, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and my parents didn't have any sort of the funds for me to go to university in South Africa.
Hmm.
So, and there's no Centrelink, there's no financial support at all. So I started working at Spa, and wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I actually got my teaching, did my teacher's sort of
That's right.
certificate, and I did some teaching for a while. And then because I was actually struggling with my weight and struggling with health issues, I kind of made the decision that I didn't want to go down the pathway of what my mom had gone down with like poor health, and made the decision that I wanted to learn about how to exercise and eat healthy.
What
And
age was that?
that was around, I'm going to say my early 20s.
Yeah, okay. Hard to believe you had a weight issue. Looking at you now, huh?
Thanks. So yeah, so it was a bit difficult because I went to the doctor and they said, look, you've got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, you're heading for diabetes and all of this. And I just went, this is ridiculous. I'm 20 years old. I don't want to go on meds. Like I don't want to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I just went, my mum unfortunately didn't have the knowledge or insight to be able to support me with healthy decisions in that area. So I went and I studied and I got into personal training and I got into all nutrition and I went and then got into triathlons. I got into weight training and then yeah, ended up having a personal training business for many years, uh,
Hmm.
which was my probably my first business. Prior to that, was a school teacher. I did teach in schools, and I think I always struggled with sort of that 9 to 5, kind of being stuck in one place working. I
Yeah,
enjoyed it,
yeah.
but I think that waking up and doing that every single day. I think that with my brain and how I work, I need stuff that's a little bit more
Yeah,
sort of
yeah. Pretty
exciting.
full on. Like to keep going and doing different things. What was it when you were like your 20s there that made you, I guess I want to go into like what got you to that point where you were, feeling bad with your health, overweight, whatever it might be. And what was the motivational catalyst to help you change? Because a lot of people go through that period in life where they just don't feel their full capacity and struggle to then find the motivation to overcome that. Can you relate back to that?
Yeah, look, 100%. So when I was at school, my parents were going through like a horrible divorce, and my dad was
Right.
seeing somebody else. And my mother was working, to support the family, and she was very busy just trying to cope herself. So we pretty much, my sister and I, and my brother, we pretty much raised ourselves from an early age. I mean, I can say probably from around the age of about 5, I can still remember emotionally supporting myself. And then financially, even, trying to help my mom and support her sort of from about the age of about 12 or 13. So when I was at school, I was always a bit of a different kid. And, so that in South Africa, it's kind of conservative. Everyone's very conservative. And for me, I'm a little bit out there. So I went through sort of a couple of phases. I went through my gothic phase. I went through my dread phase. I went through my piercing phase. I went through my rock phase. I went through my rave phase. I went through every phase under the sun, just trying to work out, who I am. Um, and where I actually fit in everything. Um, and and I was overweight at that time as well. So at school I was kind of bullied. I was called Fatty Bum Bum. My family, not my immediate family, but like my cousins and my uncles and that, they always used to go, "Oh, there's Fatty Bum Bum." And I remember hating having my photo taken, absolutely hating having my photo taken. I remember being in a swimming pool once, swimming with all the cousins, and all the cousins were athletes in South Africa. They were like good hockey players and like at an elite level. And for,
Mm.
I wasn't good at anything. Like I was
Yeah.
not at I'm not a natural when it comes to
Mm.
sports or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I always shied away from it. And I even remember one time my uncle had an aeroplane and he's like, "Oh, I'll take you for a ride on the aeroplane." And he said, "But everybody's got to get on the scales and weigh." And he said to me, I remember I must have been about 9 years old. And he was like, "Oh, you're actually too fat to get on the plane. Like we'll have to take turns or something." And I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Fuck.
So there was a lot of that sort of like, firstly, from a character point of view, I always knew I was a bit different because I was a bit wild and sort of out there, and I'd never kind of conformed. I was always, like a rebel. And at school, they always used to say though that I was a leader, and I used to always lead people, but they said in the wrong way. So hopefully I've changed that now. So I remember like all of that, and I think that as I got older, I kind of worked out that it's okay to be different. It's okay to be me. Uh,
Yeah.
and what is that? And then I couldn't kind of do a job. So it was like, I'll just make my own job, be my own business owner and run my
Yeah.
own race.
Yeah, it's fundamental. I mean, fatty boom boom, I think you said, and
Mm.
I smirk and laugh at that here. But I know as a teenager, when you're really developing self-identity, that's critical information that you're receiving, and you actually start to associate with it. But now looking back, like we've got a name for my brother, Tub Tub, but it's a name for all of us now, and we all joke and talk about that. But at a young age, that has massive impact. But I think it also for the right person forces you to then build up some resilience to go, actually, I'm going to fucking show these guys and do something different about it. Did you find that?
Well, look, you at the end of the day, you have to make a decision, right? It's like I
Mm.
can either go down the pathway of take that on, yes, I am, go on medication and for cholesterol, blood pressure, and go down that pathway. Or alternatively, for me, it was like empower myself to be able to, deal and manage with my own health. And I enjoyed the knowledge and the sense of control I had over it in being able to basically create the version of me that I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Will tell
Yeah.
you though that I mean, I did go completely swing the other way, because I got almost addicted to the dieting and losing weight in the initial stages because I'd always been overweight and I could never wear nice clothes. And all of a sudden, I could wear crop tops and little wraparound skirts, and people were noticing and saying, "Oh, you're looking so good." And my mom actually sent me to the doctor and got the doctor to ask me if I was on steroids because like I'd lost just so much weight. And I was like, steroids of all the things. But I started taking diet pills and I went down the excessive part of it. And then again, I had to relook at it and go, what's a healthy way for me to actually be able to manage this?
Right.
But I'm
Mm.
not over exercising, I'm not over dieting, but what's actually a manageable way
Yeah.
to create the new version of me?
Mm. Yeah, I can certainly relate to the story. Like I wouldn't say overweight, but I probably was now. I don't know. But I was definitely not a healthy weight. Never run, never liked sports, was just uncoordinated shit. And I identified with that. Like that's who I was. And it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I thought, no, I've got to do something. And I started jogging and trying, physical exercise and things like that, and started to enjoy it. Not quite to the level that you took it to, but certainly there was a massive transformation and a massive confidence build for me through that period. If you were talking to someone else, knowing what you know now about health and fitness,
Mm.
and they're sitting there struggling with their health issues in whatever capacity that might be, what advice would you give them to try and make that change to motivate them to?
I think you really have to work out how you got there. I think sort of looking back a little and going, how did I get here? But
Mm,
then cut it. Like, I think a lot of people like dwell on that where they go, how did I get here? And then they start beating themselves up. It's like, how did I get here? Well, yeah, I was making all these bad decisions, doing all these bad things, plus, a bit of depression, not knowing who I am. But then the other part of that is looking and going, what is the type of person you want to be? And then creating that, what do I need to have in order to be that person? Well,
yeah.
I've got to increase my water. I've got to, the basics. It's just the basics. It's your water. It's your sleep. It's keep moving. I mean, it's not rocket science. Uh,
Mm,
but I always say find something you enjoy doing. Like a girlfriend of mine last week was saying,
Yeah,
she's
it's good advice.
down and she's very miserable and she goes to the gym about 5 times a week. But she said going to the gym is actually getting to a point now where she's miserable going to the gym. She's not looking forward to it. And the other day I said to her, well, join my gym. They've got dance classes. And she was like, frick, that'll be amazing. Like, I can't wait. I'll look forward to going to dance classes. And I'm like,
Yeah,
well, that's great. So you don't have to do 1,000 burpees. You don't have to do a spin class. You can do whatever movement is going to make you happy.
yeah,
And,
yep.
and dancing is a great one, honestly.
Mm,
Like, it's great exercise.
not for me, it's not. Yeah, it's probably good exercise. The Yeah, the changing up, like I've found that I can do something for a long period of time, 6, 12 months or whatever, but I find then I change it up and start doing a different routine, and that just keeps it fresh. But certainly the thing for me was, do something else that you actually enjoy that might be a bit more social, like playing tennis. I play tennis now,
Yeah,
pretty much weekly. And, it's a different form of exercise. And I also found, and you might be able to sort of shape us on this, but I found I was overdoing it. I was pushing myself too hard
yeah.
to jog every day, gym every day, do everything every day. Whereas now I think, there's a nice happy balance of exercise that you can incorporate to your life.
Yeah, I mean, self-awareness is so important. And like I said, it is addictive. For me, like I really enjoy the endorphins that I get from exercise. So
Yeah.
if I don't exercise, for a period of days, I will get cranky. So I look forward to exercising because it makes me feel good about myself. But there is also then the obsession, and I just did it recently. I've got my daughter's wedding coming up, so I was like, "Yep, I'm going to train twice a day, so I can fit into that dress." And now, I've ended up hurting my back because I've got a back thing going on, and I've ended up hurting my back, and it's because I pushed it. You know,
Hmm.
so you have to be self-aware, and you've got to kind of know where that tipping point is for you. Um, but yeah, and just like you said, doing group stuff is really good. Like if you're not motivated to go do something, then join a group where you can meet people and actually you have to meet someone there because you'll look forward to going there because it's a community and you're playing tennis with somebody else. You're going to let someone else down if you don't go. So it makes it easier for you to be able to do those things then.
But if you're overweight or not feeling confident with yourself, perhaps going to one of those group things might be quite uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, look, to tell you the truth, what I did, because I mean, I remember my arms, I used to have welts under my arms and between my legs from my like fat rubbing together. And for me, it was, I took up swimming. So I did swimming and I did aqua aerobics. And that's how I started to lose my initial weight. And then from aqua aerobics, I started to then feel more confident in myself, get out and then start doing group fitness
Yeah.
because the water takes the weight off of you. And then aqua aerobics was amazing because when I was pregnant with my twins, I went back to doing aqua aerobics because I could exercise, pregnant with twins in the water you supported. So aqua aerobics is something that a lot of people don't prioritize as an exercise, and yet it's a really great way to get started. Like
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I see
keep
the
moving.
the aqua aerobics all the time when I'm at the pool.
Yeah, it's so good. It's seriously so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So good for you.
Yeah. The I like what you said, sometimes we focus too much on the past, the trauma, whatever, the experience we've had, rather than looking forward to the goals that we want to achieve. And often we can't change ourselves because the goals that we actually have subconsciously aren't linked to our actions, or that they are very much linked to our actions. So it's about creating new goals of where you want to be. How do you go about creating those goals, or how have you done that? And I'll
Yeah.
just throw this in there too, because I think sometimes we have this idea to go, oh, I want to be fit, and we look at the magazines and social media, and I want to look like her or him, and we set these quite audacious goals that then are just unachievable.
Yeah. 100%. So when I first started and I started to lose weight and I was doing aqua aerobics, like in my mind, I still had, all that stuff spoken over me from school and my family about how I was overweight. I wasn't a natural at sport. Because the rest of my family are incredibly sporty. Like if you Google them, like they in South
Right.
Africa, they are national everything's, right? And then there's me, overweight me, who does no sport, no nothing, right? So I had all of these things. And for me, it was just initially about losing that weight and getting healthier from a cholesterol and blood pressure point because I didn't want to go down the same pathway as my mum. But then it was a case of like, well, what am I going to do? Like, am I going to be an athlete or am I going to, what am I actually? And I'm not good at these things, is what I kept telling myself. I'm not a natural at these things. And Leigh, I still say I'm not a natural at these things, but I actually am now. Like, I can just go for a run. I can just go for a cycle. I can just axe throw. I can just play golf. Like, I actually have become a natural at it,
mm,
having not
mm,
been natural, all because I made the decision to give things a crack. And I think that that's the most important thing. It's like you don't have to be good at everything, but just give everything a crack, you know? So for me, I think the goal initially was that I just didn't want to be on medication. So that was a really, you know, a big goal for me. And I think sometimes the body kind of like whispers to you and then it starts to shout at you. And then all of a sudden you've got something going on and you have to deal with it. And then
mm.
people, you know, have now got to go and sort that out. But I think that, you know, for me, it's really easy. I'll just look at what is it exactly that I want? What is going to satisfy my soul? And I think that's important. Like, and you and I have this discussion all the time, like when is enough enough? But I just want to be able to satisfy my soul. And it doesn't have to be according to anyone else's goal, because initially it was like, I just wanted to, when I got into triathlon, I just wanted my parents to see that I was good at something, because I did end up going to nationals for triathlon. Um, and I just wanted them to be proud of me, you know, but it was in my mind, that was the goal. And it was based on what I thought they wanted for me.
Mm.
But to tell you the truth, I didn't really care anyway, as long.
Sometimes it's a good way to get started. I think a lot of people get started for, a monetary purpose, or I want to look like that person, or I want to impress him or her, my parents.
Yeah.
And you get started doing that, and it actually works. It helps you get started, but it may not be enough to keep you going, right? So you need to then start to internalize it and go, okay, what is it that I want to get out of this, and how does that align with my values? And if you don't really connect with that, you're going to really struggle.
Yeah, I think being pregnant with twins was probably a really good life lesson for me, because when I was pregnant with twins, I had to get my eating and my exercise really good in a holistic, healthy, safe way. I couldn't over exercise. And it was because I had, you know, I was pregnant with identical twin girls. So there was one basic pipeline and two sacs. So you've got to make sure that you're looking after yourself. So you can't excessively exercise. You can't
Mm.
excessively diet. You really have to manage things in a more balanced way. And I think that was really good for me, because the focus then became more on the health part of it, and less about the like looking good part. It was more about just being able to, you know, be able to go for
Feel
a run
good.
with friends or keep up with people, or, you know, just a healthy way of doing things.
What was it? And this is going to sort of segue into the business side of you, but how did you start initially to change that self-talk and mindset, I suppose, that you may have been carrying? Was there anything you did particularly? Because I've got things that I remember that actually are the catalyst for a lot of my change.
I think I was unhappy. And I think that if you're not happy, there's a reason. And for me, and it was like that in my marriage as well. I was just unhappy, and I was like, I don't want to wake up every single day being unhappy. Something is making me unhappy, and we create our own happiness. So however I am right now is obviously not working. So for me, that is my meter of how I am. If I go to bed happy every day and I wake up every day and I'm happy, then that is my barometer for me being awesome.
Yeah.
And if I'm not feeling happy, then I have to look at it. Why is it? You know, why am I not happy? And it was like that when I was school teaching. I loved school teaching, but when I woke up every day, I wasn't happy going to do it. When I ended at the end of the day, I wasn't happy. I wasn't totally, absolutely, amazingly happy. And
Define happiness for us.
I don't know. I feel like I have a smile on my face all the time and I'm glowing and I'm happy. And that to me is, you know, even when shit comes at me, I still feel happy. I don't
Are you
really.
happy all the time?
A lot of the time I am. I'm a
Mm.
big crier. I do cry quite
Oh,
often.
look, I'm all about happiness, and I think it's a great barometer for measurement of what's right and what's the frictions in your life. But I'll be honest, I'm not happy all the time. I got plenty of days. This week has been one of those weeks, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's I think a good measurement to look at it and go, okay, well, what the fuck's gone on in my life right now that's causing that? And it might be external elements that I can't control,
Yeah.
well, to some extent, but it might be internal things and stuff that I'm doing that I need to change.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, I said this to you earlier when you made a comment about something, and I was like, I reflected on that because I like to reflect on things. And I was like, that wasn't quite it, but I reflected on it and really gave me some good insight into things. So I think, you know, being aware of yourself, being self-aware is so important. And then looking at it. And if you are out of flow and shit's happening all the time, that I mean, that is another sign stuff is not right. Like if everything you're doing is just not working out, there's a reason. And it's normally because you've got to look inside of yourself. you
Hmm.
know. And I mean, I'm lucky because I'm not lucky, but I choose to
I'm lucky.
journal. I choose to journal. I choose to
So are
put.
these the things you started to do to change that mindset? Like, did you start with all these things, or was there like particular one, like meditation was the catalyst, or
None of
did you
that.
start listening to positive podcasts rather than, because this is the catalyst for me. I was typical Aussie, waking up, going to work in a job that I didn't really like at the time, watching the Channel 7 news in the morning, watching the Channel 7 news at night, all that negative shit going in. And as soon
Mm.
as I switched that off and started putting positive stuff in, things started to really change. And that was the thing for me. And then I started to do journaling and meditation and, exercising more and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. No, I think for me, it was just a decision that I didn't want to live that unhealthy life and I wanted to live a healthier life. So, what are
Yeah.
the ingredients that I have to have in my life to have that? But I didn't do any personal development until probably when I got divorced. That's when I really got into personal development. I would say, if anything, it was spirituality because I was quite involved in the church. And if anything,
Uh,
was, it sounds corny and I don't really do it that much anymore, but reading the Bible and positive scripts, and it really would have come from that. It didn't actually come from personal development until my divorce.
when you said you ran fitness centers and was in the fitness industry for a couple of decades, when was the divorce in that timeline? Was it at the start, the end?
Yeah, so I got married in South Africa, and I opened up. I was, what was it? How many weeks? Literally, Hannah was due to be born, and I opened up my first health, wellness, and fitness center in Durban, South Africa.
Right.
Um, and like I was that pregnant, and I was opening my first gym. A year after that, 1 year exactly later, we got the opportunity to move to Australia. And when we moved here, my husband was going to work and I was going to stay at home and look after the kids. And we're paying away into the country. But he lost his job twice in the first 4 years. So I was working at health, wellness, and fitness centers, and I was doing classes, and I was working out at the parks. And then because of the weather, and because obviously I had three kids under the age of 5 years old, because my twins were four, Hannah was one. I was like, I really need to get a facility because if I can get a facility, then obviously I can have the kids there with me while I'm doing it. So I think it was in 2010
Right.
where I left the husband and I opened up a health, wellness, and fitness center
Yeah.
because I
Okay.
just went, this is not working. I'm not happy. This is not working. And I needed to change everything. And that's when I massively started getting into personal development because I went, who am I outside of being a wife and a mother? Because I'd
Right.
lost all sense of that. And so I felt I was like that in my teenage years where I didn't know who I was. And then I worked out, wow, I've been married for 10 years. Here I am again, now a mother with these kids, and I've got no idea who I am.
Hmm.
And that's when I started getting into journaling, personal development, podcasts, things like that.
So what were some of the biggest lessons for you in running those fitness centers? I think you had a couple, didn't you?
No, I only had one here in Australia,
Uh-huh.
but I managed, like I was managing some, and then I also had my own one. And then eventually I just had my own one.
Right.
And then I sold that just before COVID, and went full time into marketing. Some of my biggest lessons is big is not always better. Big is not always better. Like in my mind, I thought I'd have all these subcontractors that would all rent the space and pay me rent and we'd all live happily ever after. But my business that I had was funding all those other people because often they
Mm.
actually pay me rent. So taking on the role of the financial role of being a single mum now with three kids and having to deal with all of that emotionally, and having to literally carry all those people. Um, Even though I was strong and I did it, yeah, it was a lot. It was really a lot. And probably I'm going to say the two other things that I learned is I got a personal assistant and my personal assistant was working with me and she just did whatever she did and I don't even know what that was, but I can tell you right now that now I have a rule that you've got to know exactly what your people are doing and you've got to be checking on what they're doing all the time, because when she left I was absolutely devastated and I had no idea what she was doing to actually run the business. So that was a big lesson there.
Right.
And my next lesson is that in that time, because the subcontractors couldn't pay me rent, I started to teach them and run these meetings where I'd teach them marketing tips, like what I'd learned or taught myself. And everyone on the Gold Coast was coming to these meetings and whatever. But then I had a whole bunch of people saying, you're just a personal trainer. You can't teach marketing. What do you know about marketing? So I had that imposter syndrome for a very, I would
Right.
say probably for a year or two. I had that imposter syndrome, but people kept asking me, please
So
come back.
this is while you're running the fitness center?
Yep, yep, yep. So I
You started doing
overacted.
marketing lessons for people?
Yep.
What made you go to do marketing lessons for people? It was just, I like marketing and I want to teach others?
No, the subcontractors. So I would have about
Ah,
five
right.
subcontractors in the health, wellness, and fitness center, like
Gotcha.
a remedial massage therapist, a kinesiologist, a beautician, and they couldn't pay me rent because they didn't know how to get clients. So I would run these weekly Friday meetings,
Right. Gotcha.
come along and let me teach you how to do it so you can pay me rent. So
Right.
and,
Yeah.
and then, and then people kept asking. Everyone started hearing about these. And eventually I had real estate agents, I had lawyers, I had accountants. Everyone was coming, going, could you teach us how to do it? Because, social media was quite new at that time and people didn't know how to do it. So they were like, show us.
So this was before COVID,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
2020.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, that would have been 10 years before COVID.
All right.
Yep. So, but I remember there was another coach, and she said, Chantal, you've just got to know more than the person that you are talking to, and they've got to be prepared to pay you for it. And I went, that's just freaking easy. So I just hung on to that and went, okay, hang on to that now. And as long as these people actually want me and I can actually help them, it's fine. So I had to get rid of that imposter syndrome because it was huge.
Hmm.
Everyone, again, I had people telling me, no, you can't do it. You're just a personal trainer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've been told that my whole life. So probably an exceptionally good lesson is just because people say, no, you can't do it, or perhaps maybe it's even your inner self-talk is telling you, no, you can't do it. You
Hmm.
can't do
Hmm.
anything you put your mind to.
Yeah. So we'll say that again. As long as you know more than what they know and they're happy to
As long
pay you
as you
for
know
it.
more, yeah, as long as you know more than the person you're talking to
Yeah.
and you can help them and they prepared to pay you for that, it's a win, right?
Don't
Because
worry about it. Hmm.
they want it and they're prepared
Yeah.
to pay you for that knowledge. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's cool. So you did you close down the business or sell it on or
So I sold it. Yeah.
sold
So
it?
what
What
happened was,
made you sell it? Yeah.
okay, so I was then in my 40s.
Yeah.
I started getting perimenopause, and I was just tired. So gyms start at 5 a.m. and they close at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
So I would have to get up at like 4 o'clock every morning, get to the gym, open it up. And yes, I did have team there, so I didn't do every single day, but it was just becoming a lot for me with the perimenopause as well. And then during the day, I was coaching marketing. So I was doing marketing. And then at one point I went, this is ridiculous. Like I can't do both. So I spoke to another
Mm.
gym
Was
owner,
that? Yeah.
and this other gym owner, he'd been running his business for longer, for double the amount of time of my business. And he said to me, oh my gosh, Chantal, you have systems, you got process, you got clients coming in, you got automation, like you've got absolutely everything. And I've been going for so long and I'm in freaking chaos. And I said to him, well, look, why don't I bring my gym into your gym? And I said, and then is let me work 2 days a week in the gym and I'll put all this infrastructure in place for you. And then you can buy me out. And that's what we did. So it was an amazing thing because I was able to then just walk fully into the marketing role and work normal hours.
Yeah. Yeah. That would have been a hard decision.
Yes, and not only that, there was a massive adjustment period for about a year afterwards.
Mm.
I was almost depressed for a year afterwards, and I couldn't understand why. And I realized that I was addicted to standing up and shouting at people all day long and telling them what to do, and they would listen because that's what I did at the gym.
Mm. You're
I
good at
I stood up and I shouted at people like 6 a.m. class, 7 a.m. class, group fitness, motivational, come on, come on, come on. So I was used to that to now all of a sudden, like between 9 and 5, it's just quiet. And
Yeah.
I'm not on show anymore. Like I'm not on show. So when I worked that out, I realized that I needed to bring more presenting into my life. I need to be on podcasts. I need to do speaking events. I need to do live events. I need to do that because I actually like that's part of
It's a
my
good outlet. Mm.
I actually need that showmanship.
So, female entrepreneur doing quite well in the marketing space now, running your business for what, five,
This
six,
this business has been going for 15 years now.
15 years now.
Yeah, because I overlapped it for 5 years with the other business.
Wow. Okay. Good stuff.
10 years
So,
on.
and bigger is not always better. I like that too. because I think a lot of us dream of these big things because we look out there and go, that's what we want to be. But sometimes you can have enough and have a really happy life without all the baggage of the stress, the complications. So I really like that as well. And you've got plenty of awards. I think you've just been nominated for a few as well. Female entrepreneur of the year, things like that. Um, what would you say to someone out there? Because there's a lot of people, and this is actually kind of where the podcast started over a decade ago, is interviewing people that didn't want to work that 9 to 5, had something else that they were interested, but just didn't know how to get it out and do it.
Yeah. This is a great question. And actually, on Wednesday, 2 days ago, I was training some homeschool teens in marketing.
Hmm.
This girl must have been about 15 or 16 years old, and she came up to me and said, "Can I have a word with you?" And I went, "Yes." And she goes, "I have this vision and I want to start this business, and I want to do become an art teacher and do all these art things or whatever." And literally, I'm going to tell you exactly what I told her, of which, when I asked them at the end of the day, what was your learning? What was your best part of today's training? And this girl went, "The one-on-one we had." So it was so good. And this is exactly it. I said, firstly, you've got to go set yourself up to be good in that position. So, yes, I figured out like what to do and how to do marketing, but I did go on and get a diploma. I did go on and study. So, if you want to be paid, like if you want to financially be remunerated for something, you do have to be good at what you do so that you can also give good service and give good customer service.
Hmm.
Investing in yourself is really important. Um, and when we talk about investing in ourselves, you do also got to get coaches. Like anyone who wants to excel and be really good, because you'll know this is a gazillion, thousand million real estate agents out there. And at the end of the day, why is somebody going to choose you? Like, because you've got to get good at what you're doing. Like, you've got to get good at it. So
Hmm.
using coaches is really good. I've used coaches my whole life for everything.
Yeah.
So invest in yourself. Um, invest in yourself, get coaches, get really good at what you're doing, give good customer service, but you do have to come up with a desirable offer. And the best way to do that is ask yourself, like if you died, and I always say this, if you died and everyone stood up at your funeral, whether it was the coffee lady you saw every day or the school, the school teacher or whoever, and they all stood up and they said something about you, those things will usually be like your glitter, your juice. And it's good for you to know those things. So for me, they always say, I'm a leader, I'm an influencer. And this is what people tell me. I'm not saying this, but I know that this is what people say about me. They go passionate, um, motivational, So you've got to look at all of that and you've got to go, these are the characteristics of you. What lights up your soul? Like I said, I need to be doing showmanship kind of stuff as well.
Hmm.
And education's always been a part of everything I do. If you look at it, I was a school teacher. If you look at it, personal trainer is education. My marketing, education. So that's in my blood. That makes me happy. So that you can build a desirable offer that you will be happy to fulfill, but someone will also be happy to pay you for.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you say you're living with purpose?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I am exceptionally happy.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's a good spot to end the show. How can people reach out to you, Chantal?
Yeah, sure. They can find me on onlinebusinessmarketing.com.au or Chantal Gerardy on Facebook. And the marketing software company is OBM Hub.
We'll stick the links in the show notes for you all to check it out at thehiddenwhy.com. Thanks so much for coming on, Chantal.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Guys, check it out, the Hidden Why podcast. Until next time, peace, passion, and purpose. See you soon.